City podcast.
Ted's cracking me up once again. Another edition of Keys to the City. And Ted's making me laugh right off the bat. But yes, did you really think that we were not going to be back? Especially what's happening right now. It is a football Saturday. We have NFL football going on right now. The Colts are beating up on the Minnesota Vikings currently right now. Then you got an AFC North game, and then you're going to have a huge snowstorm tonight in Buffalo with the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. And you got college football. I mean, come on, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. You get college football, get NFL, and you get the Keys brothers all in one on a Saturday. Yes, we are Keys of the City. I'm your host, Perfect Keys. Who's better than us? Nobody. If you're a football fan, who's better than you today? Not really nobody. I mean, honestly, no, not really. And we are only 1 week away from Christmas as well. So meaningful football. I mean, think about this. The New York Giants and the New York Jets, the last time we're both in meaningful football, Trev was still in high school. So just take that into consideration, how long it's been for both poorly run franchises. Well, turn maybe new regimes into something great moving forward. But we are Keys of the City. You can check us out on social media platforms for live shows. You can check us out at Twitch, YouTube, and at Facebook. And for shows, if you don't get to see the live, you can check us out at Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Instagram, Twitter. Am I missing anything else? I don't know.
Just look us up. My God.
But look us up. It is Keyes.
Because Santa is watching. If you've been a bad boy, you will get cold for the Christmas.
Yes. For part of the world that you have to do is you have to watch Keys to the City. That's Santa is
just
always
so you can laugh at me.
Santa, for goodness sake, Santa.
That comes out of my mouth.
I mean, that's a given. That's always a given. Santa is always watching Keys to the City. So if you're not watching Keys to the City, you might be on the naughty list this year. Ted's still wearing a shirt from like high school.
Aeropostale.
That's an Aeropostale shirt?
Aeropostale. 04 edition.
Look at me. I'm wearing my I'm repping my Owls, my Southern Connecticut State University.
Dude, right here, bro. The 04 and the 87s. I don't even know where I'm pointing.
Well, it feels like I'm glad you brought up 87 and
it feels like summer.
No, it's not summertime up there. It's not even summertime right now.
Mr. Lawrence is on.
But here hello, Mr. Lawrence. Hello, Mr. Lawrence. But Ted was just talking about 04. Well, it feels like that's how long it's been since the New York Giants and New York Jets have been relevant. And you think about what's going on right now in the scenario for both teams in the Big Apple. Huge, huge stakes tomorrow night. And tomorrow, I should say, as well, 24 hours from now with the New York Jets. Monstrous games. I mean, the stakes can't be any higher for both of these franchises. But the stakes also can't be any higher for the two gunslingers. The two guys leading the helm, Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson. Two top 10 picks. Both were in the top six picks drafted to be the future of these poorly run franchises. Like I said, have turned into maybe a new, different page and getting out of the dark clouds that is the New York Jets and New York Giants past. So we look at these two games. The New York Giants going into Washington, hostile environment. We just saw these two teams play to a tie, the second tie this year. And then the New York Jets face as we like to say, a biting the kneecap Detroit Lions team that's playing red hot football and coming back to New York. The last time we saw them, they were dominating Big Blue. So Ted, when we think about these two quarterbacks and the pressure that's facing them, different scenarios. You think of what Daniel Jones is facing coming into this game. He's looking for a contract. And then Zach Wilson, well, he's probably playing for his career because the last time we've seen him, he gave a simple no and did not put any blame on his effort against the New England Patriots not too long ago, about a month or so ago. So, Ted, when you look at this game, these two quarterbacks, what's at stake for both franchises? What's at stake for both of these quarterbacks? Who needs to win more? Is it DJ or is it Zach Wilson?
They both need to. Let's get that straight. Here's where I've turned the corner a little bit on this. For their career, it's Wilson. Now, maybe it's not just the win, but it's how he plays, how he performs. Zach Wilson's got to look like an NFL quarterback. I think in one of his press conferences past weekend, he talked about trying to play like a quarterback. That means being competent, being able to run the show, being able to be the leader out there. Don't have to be great, we've seen quarterbacks win Super Bowls that were not great. Brad Johnson, Trent Dilford. I mean, even Peyton Manning, his second Super Bowl, he wasn't great. It was a defense-led team.
Brad Johnson?
Yeah, bro. You got to be able to make a play here and there. They both need wins. Now, I told you this yesterday, and I said, not that this is how you want to look at it as a Giant perspective, but because of Seattle's loss the other night against the 49ers, whatever happens Sunday night, either or loss, tie, or win, both teams will still remain in their positions in the playoffs. So Giants lose, they're still in the playoff position. If they win, even more so. I believe they have a 94% chance to make the playoffs. If they win, it comes down to 43%. But that Seattle loss was significant. But you don't want to look at the game that way. We don't want to lose and still be in. We want to continue to win and improve. On DJ, on the other hand, every week he's still trying to prove to that organization that he's the quarterback of the future. But I think if you really, we can break this down in a lot of facets. I think there'll be at least 8 quarterback job openings next year. Saints will be one of them. Who knows what the Jets happen. So does a guy like Daniel Jones go to the Jets and say, hey, listen, we got a great defense over here. We just need you to be competent. We got weapons. Come over to the New York Jets side, right?
I think he's proven though to be competent this year.
Competent.
I don't think he's been. I mean, for what's been put on the plate each and every Sunday for the New York Giants, as we've seen, especially over the course of the past month and a half, where injuries after injury after injury, Daniel Jones has definitely played his part into getting some sort of extension. I think this is either one, like you said, is correct.
For me, though, it's got to be Wilson. And here's the thing. For a win, they both need wins. Let's get that corrected. There's significant pressure on both of these quarterbacks. That's part of our storyline tonight is the pressure on these young quarterbacks, right? We always want to anoint them. But most of them haven't proven or done anything. And then you get to a point where you're that second-tier guy where, like, are you even good enough to be in the league? Because we've seen guys like Josh Rosen, they had one opportunity, and then they got ran out of the building. Kyle Murray came in, and now Josh Rosen bounced around. And, like, that's what could happen to Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones really quick. Because, next year there's going to be 5 quarterbacks coming in, probably 4 at least in the first round, maybe 5, 8 or 10 quarterbacks. And, that's what – I mean, look at Brock Purdy, okay? That changes the whole ball game and narrative of things. Like Tampa Bay, they're going to need a quarterback next year. Tom's not playing in Tampa next year. All right. What happens with San Francisco with the Purdy and Trey Lance and Jimmy G? Jimmy G could be out, so that could be another team looking for. So these guys are playing for their careers. Every day they're fighting for a position. Wilson, though, is trying to prove to the Jets why they chose him number 2. All right. I was reading, I'm reading Wilson said, Zach Wilson now has a chance to validate the Jets' decision on a career-defining stage. And that's what it comes down to. We're not talking career-defining for Daniel Jones because I still think either way, he's still going to have a career in this football league. But if he plays well enough and they win, everything that the Jets did from Robert Saleh benching him, for the Jets taking him number 2 overall, it's going to prove to people that it was all worth it, that decision was the best decision for him. And it's going to show that he is their future, or at least he's the future right now. And I think to me, that's got to be more important because Daniel Jones, I still think, has a career in this league, one way or another, starter or backup. All right. Wilson could be run out of this league because you saw the way his teammates did not stand on his back, stand behind him and stand by his side. I think that reflects more.
And that's the thing. That's the thing.
About him as a person than it does as a football player, Trev.
Yes, this game is about I was reading the New York Post and the word that came.
Oh, you read that too? Is that the one that validated from the New York Post?
It says validation, and that's what it comes down to for Zach Wilson. This team is put in place intact that this team is going to be some sort of foe moving forward in the AFC. I know the AFC is going to be extremely competitive because of the balance it is where the quarterbacks, how great the quarterback play is in the AFC, but the Jets have everything you want in a franchise that can compete for a championship in this league. The thing that makes it interesting about, and it's just fascinating about watching, literally going on Twitter and looking at Giants Twitter on Daniel Jones, it's literally like listening about conservatives and liberals. It's like one side likes, one side hates. It's just like, it's a back and forth. It sounds like politics when we're talking about Daniel Jones because of the fact that there are people that can't stand him. There are people that are on the fence on him, and there are people that are all aboard on him. Well, you have to just, like I said, look at what he's been put in place, this team. the thing that makes this difficult for Daniel Jones, that if he does lose this game, he somehow struggles, which he really hasn't this year. He's had his moments,
Good.
but
He
I haven't.
hasn't
Hold on,
struggled
I haven't
as
seen a game
more.
this year that he said, "Oh, it's all because of him."
Well,
But if
here's
he
a
still,
perfect example.
if
Even
hold
last
on,
week under all the pressure,
if
he
he
did
still,
not have a turnover.
if he still loses, the thing that makes this the whole fascinating aspect into
That'll be
this
1-5-1.
is because of the fact that this isn't a regime that drafted Daniel Jones. So if they want to pull the plug on Daniel Jones moving into the offseason, and we just talked about this, the
Well,
dilemma
it
that the
also proves
Giants
that he can't carry a team, Trev.
the dilemma that the Giants face heading into the offseason with Saquon looming and now with Daniel Jones, this is a golden opportunity for Zach Wilson. It's a golden opportunity to validate his status and saying, okay, maybe you're not a complete bum in this league. For Daniel Jones, it's to validate, are you the answer for at least now, where it's a year or two, okay, you get the extension. If you come out, you lose again, and you struggle, I get it. I understand. I'm not knocking Daniel Jones at all during this time right now. I know what's given on the Giants right now. Darius Slayton is their number one receiver. Saquon Barkley in the running attack has not been like what it was early in the season. The offensive line is still struggling. He's on pace to be sacked the most in his NFL career this year. So when we thought
That's
this,
also because he's going to play in 17
and we all,
games.
yeah, and he's playing. He's not turning the ball over, and that's another thing for this revamped line that we heard all about. It still looks like it needs to go back to the drawing boards again. So I'm not going to put all the pressure on Daniel Jones. He needs to win tomorrow. He needs to validate he needs to validate his points and saying, okay, look, I won a huge game, an interdivision matchup. Oh, you got to get a divisional matchup. They haven't won. They haven't won this year. So and this is a team that you've had your greatest success with since coming into the league. For Zach Wilson, it's validating that you're just not a complete bum and you're not going to be a Josh Rosen 2.0.
Or Ryan Leaf. But I mean, here's something's got to give in this game Sunday night. All right, something's got to give, because if there's one team that Daniel Jones plays well against in his career, it's the Washington Commanders. Mm-hmm. But here's the other narrative, which I wrote down. He's 0-9 in primetime games.
Yeah.
So that something's got to give for him. He's got to win a big time game, because you don't want to be under the Kirk Cousins.
They've lost 11 consecutive primetime games, by the way.
Here's the one thing. Daniel Jones has set foot on, I wrote this down, so I want to make sure I was correct. Daniel Jones has set foot on the grass at FedEx Field 3 times in his career. And every time he's put up a strong performance. He's completed over 67% of his passes for 813 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. The bulk of his production was late in his rookie season, when essentially he was 28 of 42 for 352 and 5 touchdowns. Though Jones won his first 2 starts when we were at FedEx Field. Last year, remember, he would have been 3-0 at Washington if it wasn't for the offsides on the field goal. And they lost 30-29. Mm-hmm. So something's got to give. I mean, even last week, right? He had 12 carries for 71 yards. He was extremely accurate, 25 of 31 for 200 yards and a touchdown. No interceptions. So he's not turning the ball over. He has not been as much as I want to cringe and dislike him this year, I can't really fault him. I get it, because this is the way I look at it. Right?
I'm not going to.
Here's what I look at. If we want to, we'll talk about a little bit about Daniel Jones. We praise Aaron Rodgers, right? We praise Aaron Rodgers like he's the greatest quarterback of all time, right? I feel, though, like if you look at the Green Bay Packers, they have a better offensive line, receivers, tight ends, running backs together than the New York Football Giants, right? Mm-hmm. But Aaron Rodgers has played like crap, has done nothing to say that he – right? Now, you look at Daniel Jones, doesn't have as good as his offensive line. His interior linemen, the 2 guards in the center, awful. All right? Saquon's been beat up the last couple of weeks. Also, we were missing our starting right tackle for about 4 weeks. We have no weapons on the outside. Our starting tight end is a rookie, but he came back after getting his eye almost knocked out. You look at what he doesn't have, right? And it's like, I don't care. If Aaron Rodgers can't be that great with the personnel he has, how good do you think Daniel Jones is going to be, folks? Like, let's be realistic at it. You know what I mean? If you think Patrick Mahomes is going to walk in this door and be like, yeah, this team would be no problem. Sorry, bro, it ain't happening. Because Daniel Jones last week, if you want to look at what it's like to play one of the best teams in the league, had no shot sometimes on certain plays, had no opportunity to throw the ball. It was catch and, oh, my God, run for your life. He had no opportunity. I mean, we were speaking about this with Justin Fields. And that's a guy who's much more athletic than Daniel Jones. So his ability to escape out of the pocket is more formidable than Daniel Jones. But You got to have weapons, folks. You got to have weapons, and you got to have a line to at least protect you. I mean, even the great Tom Brady, he's got a hell of a lot of weapons down there. I understand their offensive line isn't great. They got some running backs, and he looks like shit. So what's that say? So let's at least reflect that Daniel Jones is doing the best he possibly can with the personnel. He's playing, like I say, and I use the metaphor, he's in a gunfight with a knife. All right, he's doing the best he can. All right, but you made a great point though too. At the end of the day, it might not just be his fault. It just might be that he's not my guy. Like Brian Dable and Joe Shane did not select this guy. This is, I think Brian Dable's offense, if you go back to Buffalo and you go back to where he was before him, when he was at Alabama, when he was the offensive coordinator there, they want to spread the field. They want to be able to throw the ball. So do they have enough trust and faith in Daniel Jones to be able to, how do I say it? I guess execute the offense that they would actually like to run and not be conservative because you don't have trust and faith in the guy that's behind center.
Yes, I agree. For Zach Wilson, this team is right there. This team is on the fringe of being something special in the AFC. And you don't hear that a lot nowadays with the New York Jets, but this is how talented this team is.
That defense is good enough.
This defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. This offense is very, very good as well. You get Breece Hall back, you get Vera Tucker back next year. They'll move on.
We're not even talking about next year. We're talking about now.
I know, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. And if you don't think the Jets won't move on from you, they kind of already just did. The only reason why you're playing this week is because Mike White, literally by the doctors, didn't get approved to play. They didn't get cleared to play. It's the only reason why. So if you think they won't move on from you, just go look at the past 3 weeks when you were on the sidelines. Not even for Daniel Jones. This is all for Zach Wilson. It's 100% it's Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson, if you play again poorly the way you've been playing, your career as not just a New York Jet is over with. You can forget about maybe you'll make a practice squad, but that will be an all-time bust.
Well, no, he'll be one of those. Daniel Jones, he'll start floating around, bro. Because here's another perfect example. Baker Mayfield might be the perfect example for him, right? Guy with a lot of tools, not a big guy, not overly talented on anything extreme, right? Arm is good. Exactly what they say, his arm is great. It's good. It's not electric. Sorry, I've seen better arms in the league. Okay, Tom Brady's arm is probably better than his, so I don't want to hear that crap. He's not super big. He's not super athletic. All right, he's a better version of Johnny Manziel. But you know how far Johnny Manziel made it? I think 3 seasons, and he was out of the league, but that was because he was. Can I say that Baker Mayfield? Look at Trev. He's already on his 3rd team in 5 years.
And Baker Mayfield's better than Zach Wilson. My point is, I was going to say this. I want to close up. I want to close.
Baker's fighting for a hold on. Baker's fighting for a job. Zach Wilson. I mean, you could be out of a job somewhere.
I want to close out with this. I did just say Zach Wilson needs to win more, but I'm going to be biased. I'm going to be honest. I don't really care about the New York Jets situation right now because I'm a New York Giant fan, and I care about what the New York Giants do. So I will say that Zach Wilson, without question, both quarterbacks need to win tomorrow, but it's Zach Wilson. But to be honest, I will be biased. I don't really care. I'm a New York Giant fan. I ain't a New York Jet fan. It's great that both New York teams are playing well, competitive, have a chance, and playing meaningful football, and got a chance to play in the playoffs. I get that. But I'm a New York Giant fan first. I care about what Big Blue does. I don't care what the New York Jets do. If the New York Jets win tomorrow, okay, good for them. Bravo. They are a talented football team. The New York Giants, I care about what the New York Giants do.
Well, we got to root for the Jets too.
I just need to. I don't care about wins. I don't care about other teams. I can't worry about other teams. You got to worry about. You can't worry about other teams. You have to worry about what you can do as a team. That's it.
For the question itself, Zach Wilson needs to win, and the Jets.
Yeah, so he can validate his career and possibly not be.
And the Jets need to win big more so than the Giants do because of the circumstance that I specified before when I was saying that whatever happens on Sunday night game, the Giants will still be in the top 7 for the playoffs. Now, my heart understands exactly what you're saying. We're Giant fans first and foremost. That's the only thing we care about. I don't care about.
I'm not trying to sound like a dick. But I'm just being honest.
We want to see Daniel Jones win a primetime game. We want to see Giants finally win a game instead of being 1-5-1 in their last 6. Okay, we want to win. We want to have some type of
momentum.
Some momentum going to the playoffs because you got what? You got the Colts next week.
Then you got Minnesota, who doesn't seem like
doesn't look too good, and then you got the Eagles. So you could go into the playoffs, possibly winning 4 straight. That could build some momentum going into the playoffs.
I mean, we're getting.
With that being said, though, the real answer for this question is the New York Jets and Zach Wilson, because of the circumstance that currently they are not in the playoff spot. Patriots were ahead of them, and the Los Angeles Chargers are ahead of them. And considering the Chargers' schedule, which is a little easier than the Jets, every win right now for the Jets is meaningful, and that's why it'll have more of an impact on Zach Wilson's career if he can. I mean, everything that he does right now will validate what Robert Saleh did, what the Jets is choosing him in his career. If not, like you said, Trev, could be out of a job very soon.
The Colts are up 30-0. 4 minutes left in the halftime. Don't put the TV on.
Don't worry about what I'm doing.
No, you ruin the lighting. Turn the TV on.
Don't worry.
What do you think? I'm lying to you?
I know what we're saying.
It's 30-0 right now. It's 30-0 currently right now.
What is the stats?
That is the current score of the first game.
So they.
Let's get on to
2 turnovers. I mean, it's not like they're killing 114.
So here's the thing. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to track. So here's what I was going to say.
17 yards.
Wilson for the Jets.
Stinks.
It's very simple. We've already seen you get benched. The Jets will move on from you if you have to. It's time for you to get going, because if not, your career as a New York Jet is going to come to an abrupt halt real quickly. And plus, you were just talking about if the Jets win, the Jets have a chance to get a higher seed, and they could climb as high as second in the AFC East, because those Miami Dolphins right now. Speaking of the Miami Dolphins, speaking on the East Coast,
they're not getting this. They're not going to catch the Chiefs or the Bills.
I'm talking about in the division.
Who cares about the division?
You got to be real. You got to be real.
Specify next.
You got to be realistic. Where these teams are. The Chiefs and those teams are in a separate category, and then the others are fighting for playoff spots. The Jets and Dolphins are in a situation right now that are very similar.
And they still play the Dolphins.
And the Jets, right? The Dolphins were 2 weeks ago everybody's possible dark horse to represent the AFC. Boy, oh boy, how that narrative has changed very quickly. And now going into hostile environment and hostile weather. Violent weather tonight with some blizzard conditions, snow. They're even talking about thunder snow, which I'm very curious to see how this game goes. If anybody has any players playing tonight in fantasy, I would suggest just not playing anybody tonight. And that even means Josh Allen. I know it sounds crazy, receivers, but if they're saying that the worst weather is supposed to come around between 8 and 11 o'clock.
Pat has Tyreek Hill.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was telling people.
He's got Justin Jefferson right now that only has 17 yards.
If you have these guys right now playing tonight in a game like this, you might want to look for other options. But the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets have a huge game tomorrow. The Miami Dolphins have a huge game tonight, going into Orchard Park and taking on those Buffalo Bills. Right now, the number 1 seed in the AFC belongs to the Buffalo Bills still. So when we look at this game, and we've seen how Tua has played in cold weather games and how he's actually played the past 2 weeks, where not too long ago, people were saying he might be top 3 in the MVP. I think that narrative has definitely dropped substantially since they started 8-3. So Ted, tonight's game, massive game for Tua, massive game for the Miami Dolphins, a telling sign to see. Look, it's playoff football. This is December football. You're going to have to play in cold weather situations, cold weather games like this. Weather, you're going to have to deal with this. It's just on you. You got to have the right mindset. Can you play, and can you play your game to where you could try to elevate your players and just elevate your team? But you don't have to do too much. And in a game like this, you're not probably going to be asked to do too much. And this might be the perfect game for Tua in the sense of just throwing the ball, dinking dunks. So, Ted, when you look at this game with Tua and how he struggled, currently in a 2-game losing streak with the Miami Dolphins, now 8-5, they lose this game. Don't look now, but the Miami Dolphins could be maybe looking out from in the playoff seedings.
Especially depending on what happens with the rest of the weekend.
Chargers play the Titans. That's a huge game. And then the Jets play the Lions. That's another big game. The Patriots play the Raiders. That's a big game, too. The Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Ted, will Tua continue to struggle in the cold, literally and figuratively?
I mean, I think everyone in America is, except for Miami fans, are all honest and say the Bills are going to win this game. There's no chance for them. I mean, you look at Miami, they've lost 8 straight games with temperatures below 40 degrees. 2 is 0-3 with 2 touchdowns, 4 picks, and that's only in temperatures below 50. He's just not used to playing games in the cold. I mean, it's not his fault. He lived in Hawaii, he played in Alabama. I mean,
now he's in the Sunshine State.
they made jokes about it this week, like they had the heaters on their benches last week in LA.
Can't do it. You saw Shaq Lawson in practice. He had like a huge ass hoodie and stuff.
I mean, I get it. It's practice. Stay warm, whatever.
You can't prepare you can only do so much to prepare yourself. Yeah, it's all about a certain mindset. You can only do so much when dealing. Like, I never got the opportunity to play in a game like this. I've always wanted to. I've always dreamt of playing in a game like this. I know you did.
I mean, I repped the game.
I've always dreamt about playing in a game like this, but it doesn't. It takes a certain mindset. Like, you can't really physically prepare for a game like this. The cold is going to be there. The snow is going to be in your face. It's going to be there. It's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with, but you just got to have the right mindset. And with Tua, the big questions that we've always circulated. Look, he's played great so far up until the past couple weeks. But the thing is, can he win big games and meaningful games? And now you have the opportunity where, if we looked 3 months ago, how the weather conditions completely are where they are in Miami when it was 100 degrees when these two teams first played, to now you're going to 20-degree weather, and you're going to have 8 to maybe 10 inches of snow during this game. It's been snowing within the past 2 days for this game.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to get
buried.
So here's what I would say for the Miami Dolphins fans in Miami if you're trying to win this game. And this is something that I did not realize and I thought they would be better at. But Miami, though, ranks 31st in rushing attempts and 22nd in rushing yards per attempt. They're one of 5 teams. That's not good. They're one of 5 teams that average fewer than 100 yards per game, and failing to establish a run helps breed issues on offense that can always be solved by scheming up open windows and pass catchers. Now, what does that all mean? What I've noticed in the last 2 weeks, and I watched some game film, was the last 2 weeks, Miami, when they played the San Francisco 49ers and when they played the Los Angeles Chargers, Tua likes to throw the ball down the seams, all right, down the middle of the field. That's where he likes to work.
Between the hashes.
They like to use Waddle and Tyreek Hill's speed to in the zone coverage to find those gaps, and then they let them speed.
Yes.
The last 2 weeks, this 49ers and the Chargers, they played a lot of man coverage, a lot of press man, bump and run, get in their faces, throw their routes and time.
That's what you should do, though.
Because a lot of the routes, and here's the thing, when you have zone, people run zone because of the speed of Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So you give that preventative action. When you play man, you give that opportunity where, listen, that speed is too dangerous. You can't keep up with him. He beats you.
Oh, I get it.
But they're timing routes for Miami.
But Ted, don't you think you should take out? Should you take out? Would you consider just like the whole speed aspect tonight? You could probably throw that out the window.
You take out what you do offensively. What the defense does is they take out the middle field, and that's where Miami likes to focus majority of their passes down the middle field. Because like they always say when you're watching quarterbacks throw in the combine is, let's see him throw that 15-yard out. Where's the zip? Can he make that throw? Does he have enough velocity? Because you got to think, you got a cornerback breaking on. That's a long throw. Sometimes, depending on where you're throwing it from the hash, that could be a 30-yard throw on a 10-yard out. All right, so understanding football first is understanding the game and understanding what.
But would you throw out the speed? Let me ask you this: would you throw out the speed aspect of the game tonight?
No, I still use it, but I do what exactly.
No, I get that, but like,
I'm using a lot of dinks and dunks, wide receiver screens. I want to get the ball in those.
That's what you're gonna have to do.
Now here's the thing: Tyreek's dealing with a little ankle injury. Waddle. So get those guys in space. Get him the ball out to his hands quick. Do not allow him to just sit in the pocket and be a dead duck. All right.
If he loses again, what is the? And I know the way.
I don't really blame him. But we always.
I don't know about that. I don't know about last Sunday's game.
He has not played well. All right, and you look when they had their 5-game winning streak. A lot of the teams that they played are not playoff caliber teams.
No.
All right, so everything looked great, and I wrote it, and that stretch Dolphins, blah blah blah. Tua played again. Since then, he has been nothing but disappointing, which has just scored 17 points in each of the last 2 games after scoring 30 per contest during that 5-game winning streak. Tua's passer rating has fallen off 2 in the last 2 weeks, dropping from a 115 in the first 9 starts to down to a 73.1. So here's the thing: like you said, comes down to the playoffs. Prove it, because here's the other thing: we're talking about this game, but this is the same team and the same quarterback that they tried to trade away twice, not once but twice. They tried to go get Tom Brady and they tried to go get Deshaun Watson. So if Tua proves that he can't be the guy, can't beat the Bills, and then they fail to make the playoffs, you might be looking at another quarterback situation when we just spoke about in the previous segment about the Giants and Jets, where the Miami Dolphins, Tom Brady, you don't want to play in Tampa? Stay warm. Don't go to San Francisco. Come down here. You could be close to your wife. The kids live in Florida. Why go home to San Francisco? That's where Giselle's living.
You mean ex-wife?
Well, who gives a shit? It's about the kid.
You mean ex-wife though?
Okay, but that's where Giselle's one of the houses is, down in South Beach, Miami. So stay down there, stay warm. It's good for the bones, feels good. But I can understand the other aspect of going to San Francisco, where you're from, the Bay Area, Kyle Shannon's offense. You won't have to do anything there. That defense is stout. You got a great rushing attack. The weapons are already there.
So what if
all I'm saying is, though, this is a prove it weekend. All right, can Tua win this game? Absolutely, but they have to play a great game. They got to hope the Bills.
No, they can't.
No, they
can't.
They
can't. They physically
Listen,
won't. They physically. I give them no shot. I'll make a bet right now with you if you want.
Do they keep it within 21 then? I mean, here's the thing.
I don't expect. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Ted. Hold on. I don't expect a lot of scoring in this game, though. It's going to be like this is not going to be like.
First of all, the field is going to be cleared by the time the game starts. Okay, they'll have the snow machines out. All the snow will be barricaded up.
Mr. Know-it-all over here. Here he goes. He knows everything.
But like Bart Scott said the other day, on that turf field, those little rubber pellets, they become super hard.
But it's going to be snowing nonstop.
So it's going to be slick. It's going to be a hard surface. So the speed of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle will not have as much effect as it would on a normal playing surface.
So
what Miami has to do is they have to establish some of the running game. They have to. You brought in JJ.
Both teams have to.
You brought in Raheem Mostert. You got to be able to establish the running game, because first, if you lose the time of possession, you're going to have no chance. So own the time of possession as best as you can. Keep your defense fresh, all right? You know you're playing against a dangerous offense. This is all playing to the Bills' hands. It's windy. It's snowy. Josh Allen's big, physical, strong arm. He can throw the ball through a tornado. That's what it seems like. Tua can't throw the ball through a cloud of dust, all right? So, but here's my other thing is, everything that you try to do is throw the ball down the middle of the field. Well, do something opposite. As I read an article, and I think I sent it to you, pull a George Costanza. I will do the opposite. Everything I do, I will do the opposite. I order tuna salad, I'll have chicken salad. You know what I mean? I'm not going to talk to the girl. I'm going to talk to the girl. So if everything's down the middle, let's throw quick passes. Let's run the ball, and let's throw some outs. Let's throw short outs, because we know that the defense of the Bills are going to do the same thing. They're going to look at Sean McDermott's going to look at what happened the last 2 weeks and say, you know what? Chargers were successful on it. We have a great defense. We have a better defensive chart. We got Tre'Davious White, I believe, is going to be back too tonight.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's going to be a lot different than what it was 3 months ago when it was 100 degrees at game time for this first meeting. Now it's going to be about 20 with maybe even a lower with the wind chill. It's not going to be present. It's not going to be pleasant.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Let me turn this. What does Tua have to do tonight, even if they lose, to prove it that he's still a successful or impossible?
If he plays hard,
he lose and still prove something.
If he plays hard, he plays.
What is hard though? What is hard?
Let's just say he can't play like he played last Sunday night, where he should have never been on the same field as Herbert.
Did he play that bad though last week?
He had 146 yards passing.
Now, is that his fault or the offense's fault?
I don't want to hear anything. When you're in a dome, when you're in SoFi Stadium where the weather conditions are perfect, there's nothing wrong with that. And you're only throwing for a team that's been scoring in bunches this year, and it's been one of the high-octane offenses of the league. There's no excuse. Tonight, I get it. The conditions are going to be unbearable at times. But if he can just play tough, if this team can play tough, if they can stick around, they stay around in this game, if they can establish a run game, try to get Mike Gesicki involved too. They don't get Gesicki involved, and I think that's another weapon that if you can get the tight end, if you could get the tight end going, I think that could be a huge asset for this team. They don't really use him. I know you got Waddle, I know you got Tyreek Hill, but if you run the football, it sets up the play action. In a game like this, you're gonna have to, like Ted said, jet sweeps, little bubble screens, quick slants, little outs. Maybe take your shots once or twice over the top, but realistically, this is going to be a game for both teams where you're going to have to run the football, and both teams have not been great running the football. So I'm really curious to see how this game moves forward for both of these teams. The Bills should win. I don't expect the Dolphins to win this game. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. So if you got anybody playing in fantasy tonight for this game, I would consider just thinking options.
I'm just thinking about while you're talking about that Minnesota game is weirding me out because I'm like, Minnesota might blow this whole thing. I mean,
they're overrated. Like I've been saying, they're overrated. That's going to be the most overrated 11-win team in the history of the NFL.
San Francisco gets the 2 seed.
Well, they should. They're the second best team in the. I think they're the best team in the NFC, but that's just what I think. That's just
Tampa's
what
not getting it. Tampa's not getting
No,
it.
Tampa might not even make the playoffs.
I think they're losing. I think
The game next week at Dallas against the Eagles. Dallas wins.
Woo!
Dallas wins the next 2 weeks. I mean, Dallas plays Jacksonville this week. It's another huge matchup. They win that game. They get the AFC. They get the huge showdown on Christmas Eve. See what happens with that game. Speaking, we're gonna close out the show talking about just the Chargers, and then we just brought up the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, there's two quarterbacks too also that face a lot of pressure. This is pressure Saturday. I know pressure is such a vague word, and it's so highly used nowadays in sports. But when you look at all the players we just mentioned, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, they face pressure for different reasons. Daniel Jones for an extension, and Zach Wilson for validation to try to stay long-term in this league, just in general. And then Tua, well, the pressure's always been on Tua because it was always Tua, tank for Tua. So that little narrative has always been is always associated with him side by side. So he needs to win tonight. And then you get Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. When you look at these two guys, Justin Herbert, he's the 5-tool quarterback. He's got everything you want in a quarterback to succeed in this league, but he hasn't gotten to the playoffs yet. That's an opportunity this year is for the taking. They have a huge game this week against the Tennessee Titans. Looks like it's a very winnable game for this team and finally can get into the playoffs and we can finally get to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs. And then Trevor Lawrence. Why do I say Trevor Lawrence? Why does he face pressure? Well, because ever since he's come out for college, when he's come out of the NFL draft, all we heard he's going to be the next big thing. He's going to be the next Peyton Manning, John Elway, and Andrew Luck. Those were the big guys that this guy's going to be the greatest thing in the world. Well, he struggled last year for obvious reasons, a disaster with that whole situation of Urban Meyer. But this year, started off cold, and this team is starting to pick it up, starting to figure out themselves, and Trevor Lawrence is starting to get into a groove. So, Ted, when you look at these two guys, do they face any pressure coming into this weekend? I know you were more about Herbert. I was on the Trevor Lawrence on this situation.
Well,
but do they face any pressure with these two guys?
Absolutely, Trev. And I try to knock this question as like, this is kind of stupid. Like, what kind of pressure does Lawrence face? He's only in his second season. But here's the thing, though. After being labeled a can't miss prospect, Trev, his freshman year, when he was at Clemson.
Yes.
His career so far has been shaky. Now, totally understand last year was I'm going to say this. I know it was a shit show, bro. It was a total disaster. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. I mean, the Urban Meyer effect was complete opposite. But they brought in Doug Peterson. They spent nearly $200 million in free agency. All right. There was games this year where he looked like the real deal. He had a couple weeks against the Chargers and Colts where he looked, weeks 2 and 3, where he looked really good. But if you look at his first 8-9 weeks of the season, he was ranked 26 out of 35 quarterbacks in completion percentage, pickable passes, efficiency. He was looking like a mid-level quarterback, like not the guy that everyone has expected to be. Like when you were specifying about the Andrew Lucks, the John Elways, Peyton Manning wasn't even looked at that way, but ended up turning that way. But he was supposed to be in that same category. Like this guy's going to.
Yeah. He was supposed to be.
It doesn't matter where he goes. He's going to crawl out of the mud.
He was going to be the next big thing.
And then you look, though, since that loss against Denver in Week 8, since then he's played much, much better. Trevor Lawrence, right? He ranks 9th right now in well throw percentage. He's 6th best in pickable pass percentage. Ranks 13th in air rate. He's 6th behind Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Tua since Week 9. So those are the quarterbacks that have played better. Now you look at that: Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen. Other than Jalen Hurts, other than maybe and Tua. And Tua's had the bad weeks. They've all been and maybe Dak too. They're all MVP candidates. So that's how well he's played. And the Jaguars have played that well. And you look last week, dominant performance. But you played another really good team. And this is a high caliber test for the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right. This is a situation where you guys got talent. You're good enough to play the Dallas Cowboys. This defense is good enough to put pressure on Dak Prescott. Trevor Lawrence, if you are as good as what they say, this should be a surefire playoff atmosphere. Great game. This should be, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, great offenses. You got weapons. You got a running game. You got defensive players like Evan Ingram looked great last week. I mean, DJ Chark was their leading receiver. I mean, they brought in Christian Kirk.
Did you say DJ Chark?
Yeah, DJ Chark.
DJ Chark's on Detroit. Get it right, bro. Let me DJ Chark. Go look it up, buddy. Go look it up.
Oh, he was the lead.
I'm gonna take over this now because you dropped the ball. You just dropped the ball on your mic time. You just dropped the ball on your mic time. You know why?
Because I heard that the other day, and they must have been talking about the Lions. And
DJ Chark had a touchdown last week.
If you want to compare who's got more pressure, it's Herbert than Trevor Lawrence, because Lawrence still has another year or two to prove it. And like we talked about last week, Herbert. This is a
but when does he get? When are we going to start? It's like the whole Justin Herbert, like I just saw last week. When are we going to start saying, "Oh, is he going to get another?"
Well, here's the thing. I think
he's playing. He's playing
Dallas to win this week.
I get it, but is he going to get another pass? Like, okay,
it's not a pass.
Okay, so he's got to. So he's got to play Dallas. For you to try to get to the playoffs,
you got to beat the good team.
All you're going to be doing is playing good teams from here on out. You're not going to be playing teams like the Houston Texans. I'm sorry, I get it.
But listen, I'm not saying they don't face pressure. I would say Herbert faces more pressure because he's the year or two older.
And now that the Colts,
there's an expectation. You beat Miami. You're a better team. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. You're a much better team than the Titans. You should go in and smack them around. You're home. You have your weapons back in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler is a total stud. All right. And you looked like last week like the best quarterback in the league, or at least one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You got to continue to prove it. You have to dominate, because for us as fans, and for you and me to think, as well as what a lot of people say on the outside, is this Charger team should be a playoff team. We can't be losing the easy games. We can't be missing out on the playoffs. We got way too much talent on this team, and you're way too goddamn good as a quarterback to not be able to drag us into the playoffs and be good enough. Because like when we started the show, when we said Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson are not good enough, the guys that we're talking about right now, and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, these are the guys that we expect to carry their teams even when they don't have the talent. They're able to carry the wagon to the promised land.
Yeah, and that's why with Justin Herbert last week, it's almost been like pass after pass after pass. For Trevor Lawrence, it's going to start coming up on him soon enough. And I get it. He's playing Dallas, dominant defense, a talented team, one of the more talented teams, one of the maybe odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. I get it. But for you to try to finally get to a situation where, look, that AFC South is still for the taking. I mean, right now the Colts are kicking ass against the Vikings. The Titans have a huge game against the Chargers. The Chargers beat the Titans, and you win this week. You're only a game back in the AFC South, and you've already got the head-to-head over the Titans. So we've been hearing this narrative of the can't-miss prospect of Trevor Lawrence, but we've also been hearing the great Justin Herbert. He's got all the talent. He's the 5-tool quarterback. Well, you guys are there. Now you just got to get to the finish line. And for specifically Justin Herbert, you're right there. You're in the playoff hunt. You just keep winning. You're going to be playing in January. For Trevor Lawrence, keep playing red hot like he's been playing. But there is pressure on you because you look at that quarterback class in general. Zach Wilson, who knows if he's going to be playing in the league next year? Trey Lance, we don't know what's going to happen with that 49er situation. Justin Fields looks like he's playing his part. The Bears are eventually going to get to possibly relevance back in the NFL. And then Mac Jones is the intriguing one if they could just go not have a defensive coordinator as the offensive coordinator. So the pressure's on because the pressure has always been on Trevor Lawrence since coming out of college as the can't-miss prospect. Well, guess what? You're in year 2. I get it. It's his second year. I get it. But you know what? In a league where the quarterback position is moving on and they're just improving each and every year, this isn't no waiting game anymore. No excuse. Go play your game. You got the talent. You can win this game. I know that Dallas is the better team on paper, but as we've seen this entire season, any given Sunday is truly possible this year because we've seen upsets after upsets, and it's literally been a wild and a hellacious and exhilarating year for football fans. I expect it to be from here on out. There's no better time. I get it. For football fans, I get it. For football fans, it's a sad time because we are nearing the end of the football season, but there is no better time right now because from here on out, it is playoff football until the end of February or until the middle of February. And for us Giant and Jet fans, it's even that much more sweeter to know that both of our franchises that have been so bad for so long finally have meaningful football and have an opportunity to be playing in playoff football this year.
33-0 Colts at half.
Well, that's the first game. The first game is already in the books, and then we'll get an
block kick return for a touchdown. There was a pick six return for a touchdown, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 field goals.
And then we'll get an AFC North battle between the Ravens and the Browns. A huge game for the Baltimore Ravens as they still are the leaders in the AFC North. And then, like I said, the huge AFC East showdown tonight between the Miami Dolphins heading into Buffalo for I can't wait to watch that game just to see how that game is going to play out with the weather conditions and the Buffalo Bills. Can they continue to win and hold grasp of that tight AFC lead right now? That crazy AFC right now. It's a wild NFL season. I can't believe it's already December. It's a week away from Christmas, but this is it. This is as meaningful as it gets. New York Giants, New York Jets, Detroit Lions, all playing meaningful football late December. Who would have ever thought? Year 2022, been a wild year. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back probably Monday or Tuesday. See how the New York Giants do tomorrow. Can we get back to winning ways? And like I said, it's a football Saturday, college football, NFL football, and the New York Yankees got the guy that they wanted, Carlos Rodon. I know we didn't get to speak upon it, but a huge signing for the Bronx Bombers as they bolster that rotation. Lose Andrew Benintendi to the White Sox, but it's okay. They needed the guy. They got their guy. So we'll see how the free agency of baseball also plays out. But ladies and gentlemen, you can check us out on all social media platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the rest of the platforms. We are Keys of the City. We'll see you next episode. Enjoy Football Saturday. We are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.